Hey there, welcome to the App Marketing Superhero Bootcamp. My name is Ilija. I am Customer Success and Retention Manager at AppRadar, and I will be your today's sparring partner. Our today's topic is Google App Campaigns, so without further ado, let's get started. What are Google App Campaigns? Google App Campaigns are a paid advertising channel that helps app marketers to push their mobile apps to a specific target audience. App campaigns are a part of the Google Ads network, which means that they rely on Google's vast platform for serving the ads. How does it actually work? So to boost your app growth with organic and paid user acquisition, you first have to understand how people search for and find apps. The first step in maximizing your downloads is to make your app easily discoverable by the right users. Two things to say about that. So those are the environments that your ads are potentially going to be displayed. Here we have the Google Search Network, we have the Google Display Network, you have Discover on Google Search, we have Google Play, and we have YouTube. Please remember that Google App Campaigns won't be shown on your website, it only displays ads in its own network. And the second one, when it comes to discoverability, one thing that many of our customers underestimate is that in most cases, it won't be enough to only optimize via paid user acquisition. The world's organic and paid user acquisition are heavily connected in the Google infrastructure. So please make sure to also optimize your organic store listing, aka your app name, the short description, and the long description. If you do that consistently, your app is going to be more relevant to the algorithm, which make your life way, way easier in establishing the goals and establishing the targets that you have set yourself up for your paid user acquisition channels as well. What kind of app campaigns do we actually have? So we will take a closer look at the different types. So let's hover over those different options that we have here. So we have the install campaigns, the engagement campaigns, and the pre-registration campaigns. Those are the three that you can select once you create a new campaign. Defining the focus of your campaign helps Google Ads determine the right bid strategy so that your ads reach the right users at the right time in the right place. And here we have an example of how a campaign structure could and should look like before we get into the details. So first and foremost, you obviously have to show Google what kind of markets and countries you are going for. So I have chosen here Germany and Austria as the targeted countries. And then it's the right time to determine what kind of campaign is it going to be. App install campaign is the most commonly used campaign type in Google Ads and Google App Campaigns. So this simply targets new users. So your clear goal is quantity, as many installs as possible. Once you have done that, you have the possibility to select different ad groups. So one is required, but you can also do a second one. And the way how I've described it is, for example, if you have different services, different features, or different products that you would like to push and promote inside your application. So for example, a registration versus an in-app event or in-app purchase, that's what the ad groups are for. And you can select them and compare the success of those different ad group campaigns to each other. And once you have done that, you also have to select and add the asset levels. So for example, videos and banners that should be added to your app campaigns as well. One of the most commonly asked questions that we actually have is when it comes to budget. First and foremost, the campaign budget is set at the campaign level. So here, this is the second step. And two things that you will see here, I would recommend you to keep that in mind. App installs. Budget is 50 times the targeted cost per install. So if the targeted cost per install is 10 euros, then the budget should be approximately 500 euros per day. That should help you determine if you can actually afford a Google App campaign. Below that number, it's going to be very, very difficult to see a success. Targeted cost per action when it comes to campaigns. The budget is 10 times the targeted cost per action. This means if the targeted cost per action is 80 euros, then the budget should be approximately 800 euros per day. Again, those two benchmarks and those two numbers should help you determine and decide if Google App Campaigns is the right way to go for you. Let's actually start with app install campaigns. Again, those are the most commonly used campaign types, and they specifically target new users. So it's not about quality, it's about quantity. And what you need to know, So there's a couple of important elements that Google uses when creating and serving app install ads. So first one is the ads location. So I've shown you the 5 examples of the Google Display Network. So you have the search network, the Google Play, YouTube, etc. Google will determine where your ads are going to be displayed. Then comes the type of the ad. So is it a banner or an interstitial ad? An interstitial ad is a full screen ad that is not typically shown between two crucial and certain steps, for example, during a registration or in-app purchases phase. The content of the ad, so the app icon, the description text, and the App Store rating. Side note about the App Store rating, please make sure and do whatever you can that your average App Store rating is higher than 4. So this is a benchmark in the minds of most customers, and it is one of the most important parts of a decision-making process of most of your customers. If your average rating is below 4, then your chances are relatively low as well that your ads are going to attract more users or as many users as you are actually looking for. And the 4th step is the action after clicking an ad. So option number 1, you click on an ad, and this click leads you to your store listing where you can actually install the application. But you also have the possibility that your click actually leads directly to the download. So that's the 4th and last step that you need to know about Google install campaigns. App engagement campaigns. What do you need to know about that? So for existing user base to complete a specific in-app action, you need a minimum of 250,000 installs for the setup and text assets. So this means that engagement campaigns are typically not the ad campaigns that you start with. So those are a bit more advanced and sometimes a bit trickier to set up and to implement because they target users who already have your app installed on their devices. So imagine the following picture. I'm a potential customer of yours. I already have your app installed, but you would like me to register, for example. You would like me to do an in-app purchase, and this is exactly what those engagement campaigns are for. Evaluating your performance is critical if you would like to get higher return on investment and grow your app value. The bottom line is that app engagement campaigns are the best way to grow your app once it has already received some momentum in the app stores. And last but not least, pre-registration campaigns. So 2 main things differentiate app campaigns for pre-registration from app campaigns and app engagement campaigns. App campaigns for pre-registration are used for promoting Android apps only. That's the first differentiation factor. The second one is they have only one specific goal, which is the promotion of the app that is in the pre-registration phase. The most important metric you want to track for this type of paid campaign is the CP pre, cost per pre-registration, and the target cost metric is the targeted cost per pre-registration, especially effective in the awareness phase of the customer journey. So for example, you have an exciting new app that you're currently creating, and the app is not fully ready yet for release. That's why you have the pre-registration phase, and you try to create excitement around your user base, and you would like to get them involved as early as possible in order to install your application, to give you early feedback so that you can do the necessary improvements and in order to have a quick and good start into your app life cycle. And that's exactly what those kind of campaigns are for. Conversion tracking. So this is probably the most important factor that will actually help you decide if your Google app campaigns are actually successful or not. It's the difference between imagining and actually knowing your metrics. And let's get actually directly to the topic. So keep in mind, whatever the campaigns you are running, the first thing you would want to do is to associate the main conversion with the cost. For app install campaigns, focus on install and cost per install. So again, this is a quantitative goal. You're not looking at the quality of the installs that you're coming for. You're primarily looking to get as many installs as possible. For app engagement campaigns, focus on in-app action. So in-app action, for example, is a registration or an in-app event that you're trying to push. Therefore, the metric is the CPA, cost per action. And the app campaigns for pre-registration targets pre-registration signups in Google Play and CP pre, cost per pre-registration. So what is the cost per pre-registration? You have to set them up in order to be successful and in order to be able to analyze the success or the failure of your app campaign. And what are the most important KPIs? So again, thumb rule for install campaigns for the first type that we have here: set average daily budget at 50 times the targeted cost per install. Again, quantitative goal. Conversion, what is the meaning of the conversion when it comes to targeted cost per action bidding? Down the funnel events like registration, in-app purchases. If you would like to motivate your customers that are already installing your application, so existing users, to do the next step and to do an in-app purchase or to a registration, this is the KPI that you're looking for. And the overall top of the bottom KPI that everybody's looking for is obviously the revenue. What does it mean? The total return of ad spend bidding. You are spending a certain amount in ads, and what is the expected outcome versus the actual outcome? If that's not aligned, then you are going to have a very, very difficult time actually evaluating if your ad campaigns are successful or not. App campaigns, ads, formats, and assets. So what do you need to do? What do you have to provide to Google in order to get your app campaign started? So Google is very different from Apple, as you probably already know. There are certain things that you have to provide with, and Google will do the automation in the background. So the Google Play Store algorithm in general, as well as the ads algorithm, is much smarter and much more sophisticated than, for example, Apple search ads. You have to provide 4 things. You have to provide texts, videos, images, and HTML5. And here are certain recommendations that are really, really crucial, although it can be sometimes a bit difficult to set up or to get with the right amount of texts and videos. As you probably already know, you can add up to 20 videos, images, and HTML5. The rule is the more information and the more material you provide with Google, the easier the Google algorithm will have a time to mixing and matching them up automatically and to find the right combinations for you. So you don't have to do it on yourself. You just provide the material and Google will do the magic in the background. Therefore, it really, really pays off to take some time and maybe also to get some help, especially when it comes to video and images. If you don't have the resources in-house to provide it on your own, that would be one thing that I would recommend you to outsource, to get a pro on your side that actually supports you in creating images and videos that convert. We always say pictures drive emotions, emotions drive decisions. Again, this is one of the most important conversion factors. And besides that, when it comes to the texts, you have headlines and descriptions. You can add up to 5 headlines and 5 descriptions. 2 headlines and 1 description are a minimum, but here again, I would definitely recommend you to take as much time as possible and to create 5 headlines and 5 descriptions. Pro tip from my side: if you are struggling to find the right headlines for your Google app campaign and the right descriptions, I would always start with the material that you already have on your screenshots. So for your organic store listing, in most cases, you will have not only pictures, but also some headers and some punchlines that you are adding to your screenshots. And those are also, in most cases, the ones that I would recommend you to start with and add them to your texts when it comes to creating Google app campaigns. And remember, assets should make sense on their own, but also in combination. And the meaning of that is, yes, they should be individually appealing, but since Google will automatically mix and match them, they should not be like out in their own universe. They should be mixable and matchable. So please try to keep that in mind as well. And Google will also try to support you in displaying your ad excellence score. So the more headlines, descriptions, and images you add, the better the score is going to be. So Google calls it ad strength. Try to have at least a good ad strength. That would be my recommendation for the beginning. Creatives for the right app ad channel. So it's important to remember, creatives that may work on other app ad channels might not translate to deliver the same performance on Google app campaigns. So you cannot always compare the conversion rate, for example, of your screenshots in your store listing between store installs to this expected conversion rate for your Google app campaigns. Although there are some correlations and user behavior is quite similar, but the metrics can look quite different. So please keep that in mind and don't be surprised if those metrics look a bit different. Align your ad creatives with your brand goals, values, and identity. That's very, very important. So recognition is a key part of a good ad strategy. Keep in mind your app campaigns goal when working on the creatives. So what is my actual goal? You have to remember, out of the text and the creatives that you provide, the creatives is going to be the first thing that is recognized by your user base, by your customers that you're trying to attract. So try to formulate in your creatives, in your creatives already what you're trying the customers to do. So is it actually a sign up? Is it a registration? Is it an in-app event? And place them into your visuals and graphics as well. Your call to actions will be different if you go for installs, in-app purchases, or retention improvements. Keep related creatives together in the ad groups. So obviously your messaging should always be aligned. If you target, for example, an RPG game enthusiast, you don't want to mix the creatives with the audience that looks for puzzle games. I think that's a no-brainer. Try to understand who your targeted audience is, try to understand what their trigger points are, and go with those trigger points. Upload the maximum number of assets for each asset type. So that's again the recommendation to use, for example, the 20 videos that you can actually add, the 5 headlines, the 5 descriptions. The more information and the more material the Google algorithm has, the better the Google app campaign will look like. Do not forget to localize the ads. So Google does not translate them automatically. A good rule of thumb will be start with English, but if you're targeting certain markets and certain countries, for example, Scandinavian markets, then try to localize them as well. Specifically important, for example, for Italy, for Spain, if you're operating in Europe, so the Asian markets, Japanese and South Korean as well, obviously South America with Spanish, the better localized, the more attractive your ads will seem to appeal for your potential audience, the better your conversion rate will eventually look like. And look for assets that can trigger audience engagement. So it's not only about telling a story, but at the end of the journey, there should always be a trigger. So what's actually next? And try to remember from a customer's perspective, I see an ad here. So what am I actually supposed to do after watching this ad? And use asset reports to identify low-performing assets and replace them on time. So those asset reports are visible and provided directly by Google. Try to use them as efficiently as possible. Analyze what ad groups convert better than others, and the ones that are lower in conversion, try to optimize them or delete them completely. A few final thoughts from my side. Yeah, patience. Patience is key. When it comes to organic optimization as well as paid user acquisition, it is always trial and error. So Google is actually very good at assisting you with its automated algorithms and the automation in the background. But please remember, you need a certain amount of experience, at least 2 months, where you can compare the performance to each other in order to decide what works best for your Google app campaign strategy. So in most cases, give yourself 2, probably even 3 months after you actually decide if a paid user acquisition channel for Google is the right thing to do or not. Whatever the campaign type you choose, you will need to comply with Google Ads policies and best practices if you would want to get the return of investment of expect. Therefore, time and timing are crucial points that you need to consider in order to be successful. Conversion tracking is a must. If you're not tracking your conversion, then your goals and the effects and the way how your campaign looks like is just imaginary, and there is nothing that you can actually analyze for. The numbers are there, and the numbers are your friends, so take advantage of them. Try to understand them. There is plenty of material out there. You can also use the App Radar Academy in order to help you understand what the metrics show and what the metrics look like. So get used to analyzing metrics and statistics as quickly as possible. Created assets can make or break your campaigns. I have mentioned it previously. Pictures drive emotions, emotions drive decisions. Texts are for the algorithm, pictures and videos are for your audience. So you have to split them and split the viewpoint that you take into account. So please take your time in creating awesome videos, awesome pictures. And if you don't have the resources or the knowledge to do them in-house, that would actually be the first thing that I would outsource to a pro, because it really makes or breaks your campaign, as we have described here on this chart. Yeah, and please feel free to use the App Radar Academy in order to educate yourself how to create appealing Google app campaigns. And once you're done with educating yourself, please join us and become an app marketing superhero yourself by doing the certification on App Radar. We are going to display your success on our social media channels, so don't hesitate and do those as well. This is how it, for example, looks like. And we are definitely there to share your success with you. So learn, certificate, and we are going to display your success on our social media platforms. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your interest. And don't forget to keep optimizing. Have a wonderful day and talk to you soon.